everywhere buzzed few hours ago as they finally come for Seun Okinbaloye during a live interview amidst the protesting that is cooking from August 1 to August 10. It's only having few days to go. They planning everything possible to make sure that the protest will not hold. Now, they finally come for Seun Okinbaloye during a live interview. Seun never expected this. So I would like us to stay connected to the end of this video because this video actually got a lot of people talking. They never wanted the video to come to the limelight, but the video have finally been showcased. The video have finally been leaked out now. Like us to stay connected to the end of this video. If you can share this video, just do it to share. Click the share button, share to different social media platforms. Let it go viral. And if you can share it, just like it as you're watching it. Like it, give it a thumb up. So that will be recommended for us. Nothing must happen to Seun. Just stay connected. I'm coming back again.
Welcome you back to LAJUPOG TV.
I don't have bad news for you today.
The home of religious gossip.
But you should leave the fight for Mohammed.
What is happening in the Christendom? Join now to make sense with LAJUPOG.
Hello my great wonderful viewers, welcome back to LAJUPOG TV. For those of you coming across this channel for the very first time, ensure you click the red subscription button appearing on your video screen. At the same time, click the notification bell icon so that whenever we drop a new video in few hours time, YouTube will easily let you know. Because like a few hours ago, as far as Chinese television is concerned, Seun Okinbaloye of Chinese television was caught for an arrest few hours ago amidst the ongoing cooking protest that will be kicking off on August 1 to August 10. A lot of people have been saying a lot regarding the protesting and all. And Tinubu is doing everything possible to intimidate the media houses that we have in Nigeria because according to what they be saying, they said the media houses are part of the people that are fueling the protesting and all. They are doing everything possible to popularize the protesting and they're trying to kick everything down. They're trying to intimidate and bully the TV stations and all. That's what they're trying to do now. And they never want this protest to hold. It is very obvious that they be doing everything possible to stop the protest. And Seun Okinbaloye, Arise TV, Seun and all, and some big journalists, they support all the protests and all because nothing is working for everybody in this country. Anybody in this country is not enjoying anything, even to the extent that it's actually getting to the rich. Before, the suffering is not actually getting to the rich, it's only limited to the poor, but now it's getting to the doorstep of every rich man as far as Nigeria is concerned. The suffering that Tinubu bestowed on Nigerians is getting to everybody, even to Dangote. Dangote cried few days ago regarding his refinery, how they're doing everything possible to sabotage his effort and the money he spent on the refinery to the extent that Dangote have to come out and say that I'm giving up the refinery for anybody that can run it. The person should come and pay and buy it. That's the level to which they frustrated him to, and that is not enough. That's the richest man in Africa, but now they're doing everything possible to sabotage the effort of everybody as far as the protesting is concerned. We call this a protest, we never call it a war. So the people are actually coming out according to what they say to protest and agitate and bring out the agitations to the government that this is what is suffering them, this is what they're suffering from as far as Nigeria is concerned. And it's no other thing than insecurity, it's no other thing than high inflation. That's hyperinflation. And it's no other thing than high price of commodity of goods, fuels and all in the country. You can't buy for in Nigeria again, and a lot of people are suffering for all these things that is happening in Nigeria, and that is why they come up and say no, enough is enough to all this suffering that Tinubu bestowed on them. So Seun Okinbaloye have been interviewing a lot of people in Chinese television regarding the protesting and all, and a lot of them have come up. People like the the human rights activists and all, they've come out to express how the protesting is going to happen. People like Seun have scattered the floor, even said that thunder will fire anybody that will mention his name and all. Now they're putting everything on Seun Okinbaloye. So I would like you guys to stay connected to the end of this video. You will see the show that happened in Chinese television a few hours ago. Just stay connected to the end of this video. If you can share this video, just do it to share. Share to different social media platforms. Let it go viral. And if you can share it, just like it as you're watching it. Like it, give it a thumb up so that it will be recommended for us. It's normally news that in the regime of Goodluck Jonathan, Tinubu actually mobilized a lot of people to protest against Jonathan. He did it as a political protest because they believe that a lot of things wasn't working well in the time of Goodluck Jonathan. But mind you, there was a hunger then. The people weren't hungry. So Tinubu and Buhari and others, they did Operation Occupy Nigeria protest, and they used that to sabotage the government of Goodluck Jonathan and all. Now, Kama have already spoken for himself. The same Tinubu that mobilized the protest then is now in power and is bestowing a lot of suffering on the people. Now the people are saying enough is enough. This suffering cannot continue. Now they want to stage the protest, but Tinubu is scared. He's doing everything possible to stop the protest, even to the extent that they wanted to bring out Oro in Lagos because the government have actually negotiated with the traditionalists in Lagos. I do not know that the traditional system of Lagos have already gone worse to that level. The traditional system of Lagos have become rubbish to the extent that the government is now using the tradition, the Oro, the right. They're now using it as a weapon, political weapon, to sabotage the voice and to suppress the voice of the people in the protesting and all. Now the people have finally come and they said if Oro should come out, they will beat Oro blue and black to where it's coming from. You gonna be careful. Now express you they go. That was what Sowore said in an interview yesterday, and they be seeing all these things in different media houses. Now they finally come for show walking Baloo. Now you will see the drama that happened in Chinese television a few hours ago. Just take note to the end of the video. You will see everything as it goes. So if you can share the video, just do it to share it, and if you can share it, just like it as you're watching it. I'm coming back again.
The people of Nigeria should shelve these planned protests and actions are being taken. He also made a promise that we're going to be hearing from the president. Is that kind of narrative, that kind of rhetoric, is that what you think should be coming out right now?
Well, for me, I think the government is lucky this time. In 2020, there wasn't a notice given by young people before embarking on the NSAS protest. I've followed the debate and the concern of the government or the worry of the government. The government has not denied the right of Nigerians to protest for or against the government, because that is a constitutional right. But what I think the government is worried about is the possibility that violence might occur. Again, from my experience, in protests. I mean, I've taken part in protests for over 40 years in the country. Young people or workers have never gone out determined to engage in violence all the time. Violence had always occurred going back to the 70s when students are shot, unarmed students are shot. The last time, people are now destroying our history, distorting our history by saying, in 2020, young people were violent. No. The young people took part in the protest, in the NSAS protest, gathered in different places. In a place like Lagos, they gathered in Alausa at the Secretariat. They also gathered at Lekki. And they were singing and discussing among themselves. People were giving them food. What happened was that the attack on the youth started in Alausa here when a notorious transporter in Lagos, a notorious union leader, sent his thugs to attack the unarmed youths in Alausa. They overpowered the thugs, but the police did not arrest or charge them. The same thing happened in Abuja, in Benin, in Port Harcourt and other places. And of course, until the government decided to unleash people you call hoodlums and thugs on the young people. When that did not work, the government sent troops, armed soldiers, to engage in killing of young people. In 1 week, about 99 people were killed in Lagos. I don't want to talk about Ogbomoso, Ibadan, Port Harcourt, Benin, and other places where young people were shot at, where young people were killed. So the violence that characterized the end of the NSAS protest was instigated and fueled and sponsored by the government. This time around, I think the government is beginning to learn from the past. I mean, last year, the Nigerian Labour Congress wanted to have a protest in solidarity with ASU during the strike. He said, no, you cannot go on strike. Hoodlums might take over. And I drew the attention of the government told the relevant provision of the Police Establishment Act of 2020, Section 83, subsection 4, that during protest, the police shall provide adequate security for the protesters. That is the law. So what should be done, or what is expected if there's going to be a protest and there's an announcement, is to ask the protesters, where do you want to gather, so that the police can surround the place and ensure that hoodlums, so-called, or thugs, normally employed by politicians, deployed by politicians during elections, will not take advantage of genuine protests in the country. And I think that is what the government should do now. Try and identify the organizer and collaborate with them to ensure that violence will not occur.
So let me get you to reason with some of the issues that have been raised. And those who will say one of the strengths of the NSAS protest, on one hand, was that there were no leaders, there were no persons who are in the front. There were just people who, according to the organizers, organically were leading the protest, who identify as possible on-the-spot leaders. There were no organized leaders, although there are some people who are doing the strategy in the corner. And there are those who will say, in fact, that was the major problem of the NSAS protest, because it didn't have an organized leadership. And then when things went south, there was nobody to be able to hold accountable, and there were no leadership to be able to put it together. And these are some of the issues that have been raised, that if you allow the kind of violence, for example, that we saw in the 2020 NSAS protest and the aftermath of what we saw in Kenya, yes, the people of that country spoke loudly, but it has left businesses in Kenya burnt, destroyed, and brought down. How can we avoid this sort of situation, Mr. Falana?
Yeah, number one, what they call it, young people call it leaderless revolution. And I mean, we know those who, the government, officials of the government, know that their children participated in the protests of 2020. I know my own children participated in the protests of 2020. And when you ask the young people, why don't you have leaders that the government can talk to? Say, no, this is a sudden protest. We are compelled to have this protest. Once they know our leaders, the government can easily call them and bribe them or intimidate them and stop the protest. So, but they had a way of contacting themselves. And I think that is the lesson the government can draw some lesson from that experience. How do you identify those who are using statements, those who are planning the protest, and then engage with them productively? But threats will not work. In fact, on some occasions, the desperation of government also has a way of popularizing such protest. And when you are also getting some leaders of some phony organizations coming out, oh, we are dissociating ourselves from the, you didn't plan the protest with them. That will not work for the government. Or some last year, the Johannes came out to say, no, the Igbo people should not join the protest. Led by an Igbo man anyway, Joe Ajero. Oh, the Yoruba people came out, Afenifere, faction of, oh, please, no Yoruba son should come out and join the protest. That will not work. Nobody listened to such, warnings. So this time around, the government should try to identify the leaders of the movement and then engage, have some dialogue with them. And then the questions being raised, there are demands that are being made. The government should address this demand. And between now and the 1st of August, it's still a long way. And it's happily, I understand the government is going to address the nation. And it is also important for governors to really come out and let the people know what they are doing to address hardship in the country, which nobody is denying, suffering in the country, which nobody is denying. And then you see our governors say, oh, we're not going to be able to pay a minimum wage of 70,000 naira. That is not the kind of language that you expect leaders, the type of statement that leaders should make at this point in time.
So, Mr. Falana,
I think a lot depends on the government.
Let me ask, is it fair, though, to want to stage a revolution protest against a government that has spent just about a year in office?
Seun, when you talk of revolution, right? You don't go to the market to announce a revolution. There are objective factors in the country for a revolution. But whether this, the agents of revolution around the corner is a different matter. And that word is used loosely in the country. Sometimes officials of the government use the word. I remember when Shiwore was being tried for treasonable felony for attempting to stage a revolution protest, and the SSS official that came to give evidence, I had to ask him, are you aware, you recall that President Buhari commended the Egyptian revolution in 2011 and said such a revolution to take place in Nigeria? He said he was aware. So when people talk of a revolution protest or whatever, demonstration, it does not mean that we're going to break the roof of our house. It's a challenge to the government that reforms are no longer working. You need radical measures to address poverty in the country, to put an end to importation of fuel, right? To control your currency and not float it, to address youth unemployment, to address the security in the country. For me, I think this is a message that the government will have to take very seriously.
I was going to ask you, Mr. Falana,
debates in the country.
If you look at what is happening, the government is making allegations that some of these plans are politically motivated, and that's one issue there. Are you worried if there's any lesson to be taken from?
I think the government Seun, I think the government of Nigeria is lucky. In Accra, Ghana here, all the anti-government protests are organized and staged by the opposition party, the NCC. Whenever the NDC is in power, is the NPP that organizes protest. In Ghana, in South Africa, even in Kenya before the youth protest, is the opposition political parties that organize protests in this country. So here we only expect Labour, the Labour movement, to stage protest. But in some other countries, political parties do not talk only of election. They also challenge the government in power. So protests of this nature, of course, are political because the program of the government are also political. Operating a neo-colonial peripheral capitalist system is a choice of the government. It's political. And so victims of human rights abuse in the country may also decide tomorrow we want to end oppression in our country, brutality. Whereas the laws have taken care of that. So the duty of the government is to look at the law, the welfare laws in the country. How can we fund welfare in our country to ensure that we do not have the young people or political parties asking people to go to the street and embarrass the government?
In the Fourth Republic, the 2012 Occupy Nigeria protest, in which you were a very prominent figure, one of those who led that protest, was one of the most significant events of the last 17-20 years in Nigeria's political space, which led to the forcing out of a government of Goodluck Jonathan. It really battered the image of the Goodluck Jonathan government because that was a really major event politically for Nigeria. And I imagine that, Mr. Falana, you might also be joining these end bad governance protests. We see you lead from Lagos where you live. But the question is that if from 2012 there have been clamor for the removal of subsidy, and Bola Tinubu comes into office and says, this clamor has been there. His very close allies and friends were also part of that protest. Now, he has come to the office. First thing he did when he got into office was to remove protest. Subsidy on fuel. So the question would be, if this has been the agitation and someone has come into the office to remove it, why then the agitation against his action, and what has become a spiral effect of that decision?
Seun, Nigerians are unfair when they talk of only the protests in 2012. In 2010, the same forces still protests in Lagos and Abuja when the cabal in the presidency, when the Buhari cabal, Yaradua cabal said Jonathan would not be president of Nigeria, would not even be acting president. The same forces went on the street at the risk of their lives to say there is a constitutional provision for the transfer of power in Nigeria. People have forgotten that. Those who later came to become, to accuse those who staged the 2012 protest, never remember that. So the point I'm making therefore is that people have the right, it's a constitutional right, to protest for or against the government. Now, when you talk of those who protested in 2012, not taking part in other protests, too bad. But what is important is that Nigerians are saying, you have removed fuel subsidy. What of the gains, if any? Why are we still importing fuel? And now, what has happened to our refineries? What has happened to this Dangote refinery? So people are bound to ask this question. The duty of the government is to address these problems, these questions, openly and frankly and honestly, and ensure that you convince Nigerians that the government is looking for solutions to this problem. If you talk of removal of fuel subsidy, what have Nigerians benefited? Whatever will have been the gain have been eroded by the floating of the naira. And people are asking questions. Why are you floating the naira? Because it's against Section 16 of the Central Bank Act, which is that the Central Bank of Nigeria shall determine the value of the naira vis-a-vis other currencies. But we are now told market forces are determining the value of the currency. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world. And so Nigerians are asking these questions. Why are you, a minister had just said that 40% of the loan given to Nigeria by the World Bank is stolen? No. I would like to say no. What they simply do in those agreements to say the machinery you are going to bring to the country for the execution of the projects covered by the loans, the consultants will come from certain countries, the goods will be bought from certain countries. So at the end of the day, what you come to Nigeria will just be about 40%. And out of the 40%, part of it is stolen by some reckless people in government. So our countries are acquiring loans without any basis. So we're already sabotaging the future of our young people. So we must now begin to ask questions. Why are you taking this loan? To service a parasitic bureaucracy. So these are the issues the government will have to address.
Mr. Falana, I wanted to play to you. I would like to play to you two sound bites which have come out on these protests, which looks like the federal government and the security agencies are also monitoring what is going on. But I wanted to know, would you be joining that end bad governance protest, Mr. Falana?
No, it's going to be difficult for me to say that. No, Seun, I do not know the organizers. And I'm a political person. So if I'm going to take part in a program or an event, I must know what it's about, who are the people behind it, so that I also do not end up,
but Mr. Falana, do you have interest in politics now? Aside from wanting to become governor of Ekiti State years ago, I don't know. You declare that you are a political person. In what sense? Can you clarify, though?
So I'm involved in mobilizing Nigerians, right? To terminate oppression in our country, to terminate exploitation in our country, to control the resources of our country, which are immense. So I am involved in the process to ensure that no Nigerian goes to bed, hungry. No Nigerian will get to the hospital and not be treated with our resources. I'm part of the program very soon to end public officers going abroad for medical treatment. If we stop that, they will fix our hospitals.
Thank you for staying connected, my great and wonderful viewers. You can see what is actually happening. You can hear from Femi FALANA. That man has been a very good activist as far as Nigeria is concerned, and he's always working for the nation building thing. He never reneged on his work on nation building. That's why Seun actually invite him often and often on Chinese television. Whenever there is any issue regarding Nigeria or the state of Nigeria, this man will always come forward. They always invite him because his opinion actually counts. This man will always stand beside the poor. He will always stand and speak for the poor and all. That was what happened. Regarding the protesting, it is very obvious that they never want the protesting to hold, because they're thinking that it can turn to something like Kenya protest. You know what is actually happening in Kenya, even to the extent that Kenyans enters the House of Assembly in their country. They scatter everywhere. They chase all the politicians away. They chase all the parliamentarians, and they eat all the food in the House of Assembly because the people are already hungry people. And mind you, the policies in Kenya is not as worse as the policies that Tinubu is actually giving on Nigerians and all. And that is what is happening. They never want the protest to come up so that it won't linger to the kind of protest of Kenyans. Now, Nigerians are saying that they're not competing with Kenya. What they want to do is just a peaceful protest to just agitate and express and articulate their feeling to the government, the suffering that is bestowed on them and all, the suffering that is outside. People can now afford to eat 2 square meals in their houses. That is why they're coming out to stage a protest. This is not a fight, but the government is actually taking it as if it is a fight. That is why the government is doing everything possible to stop the protest. Now, protest is coming up. They gave 16 billion naira out for security operative ammunition just to harmonize themselves against the protesters. Are we going for war? This is not war. This is just a protest, as it's been said. It's just a mere protest for the people to just express their interest and just articulate their feeling to the government. The government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Is the government really for the people? Can't the government allow the people to talk? And this protest of 18 is a fundamental human right of everyone in a democratic country. Since Tinubu said Nigerians are practicing democracy, that we're practicing democracy in Nigeria, and is doing everything possible to reinstate democracy in countries like Nigeria that Cope actually took over and all. If Tinubu is saying that he's practicing democracy, and even practiced democracy to the extent that he celebrated Democracy Day, where they did a very big frame for him, worshipping him on that very day. Since Tinubu said he's practicing democracy, why can't he allow the people to stage the protest peacefully and just allow them to articulate their feeling? Because this peaceful protest of 18 is a fundamental human right of Nigerians, because according to the subsection 40 of the 1999 Constitution, it is the right of every citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to stage protests, peaceful and precisely, if they're not okay with the present situation of the country or the government. That was what the Constitution states. Now, why are they doing everything possible to incline the protest as if the protest is being staged by some political elite, like some opposition party? Because it was what Tinubu did back then by protesting through his party against Goodluck Jonathan then. Now he's thinking that it is Obi and some other people that are actually mobilizing this protesting, but Obi have finally sued them on 5 billion naira lawsuit and all. Why can't they mention Sowore name? Because it has been Sowore that have been coming on different media platforms and talking about how the protesting is going to hold, because obviously Sowore is one of the leader of the people that are actually mobilizing people for the protest, because they call it revolution now, and Sowore is a revolutionist as far as his activist career is concerned. Now, why can't they mention Sowore name? They asked Sowore the question in an interview. Sowore said they can't mention his name because they know that he's a very tough person. He said if they should mention his name, that Thunder will just fire them. Bayo Onaluga that have been mentioning the name of Peter Obi in any party that is ongoing in Nigeria he couldn't mention Sowore because even the government themselves, they're scared of Omoyele Sowore presently because they know what this guy is capable of doing. Now, Sowore is the one that actually mobilizing the protesting and all, but his name couldn't be mentioned. Now, they pointed fingers at Seun Okinbaloye of Chinese television. They said they should stop bringing in guests that will be fueling the protesting and all, that will be popularizing the protesting. They said it should stop bringing in guests, but Seun never listened. Seun keep bringing in more guests, even to the extent that he brought in FALANA, the lawyer of all Nigerian activists. He brought FALANA in, and FALANA still expressed his stay on the protesting and all. Seun never listened to them, and that's what is happening now. They said they will get Seun arrested. That's the intimidation that is ongoing right now. That is what they're trying to do. They're trying to silence everybody regarding the protesting. Now, drop your opinion in the comment section on this video. Do you really think this protest will hold? And if it's gonna hold, do you really think it will actually change things in Nigeria? Because according to the Yaju made it not to the general public. Say this protest, this particular protest of August 1 to August 10, is not even the main protest. The main protest will be unannounced. If the government fail to do something regarding this peaceful protest that will be holding from August 1 to 10, if there is no changes, he said the main protest will be unannounced and it will caught them unaware. The one they giving 16 billion naira to security operatives or security agents to mobilize arms for themselves and all, they said it will call them unaware, it will call them off guard, and they won't be able to do anything. That's what the judge and you said. Now, what do you think? Do you really think the government will attend to the petitions and the agitations of the people on this August 1 to August 10 protest? Don't put in the comment section on this video, as I'm gonna dedicate on that one for you. And sure, follow me on my social media handles on Facebook at LAJUPOG TV and Life Entertainment, and on Instagram at LAJUPOG. Guess what, guys? See you in my next video. Bye for now.
I see the hot for my body, I say make I yarn you. Religious gossip plenty day for body. Pastor with the line on top, be pastor. For LAJUPOG Watch TV. Pastor with the back, where politician with the do pass himself. Corrupt leader, all the while you wait for church. All as LAJUPOG Watch TV.